Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to episode 37. I want to talk today about knowing and not knowing. Both of those are huge gifts. How can they both be gifts? They seem like opposites. And what's in the middle of knowing and not knowing? First of all, let's go to that place together. Let's do a little meditation on not knowing. I did this at the end of our time on Tuesday night with Dove, where we call our new class Finding Our Inner Teacher. And there were so many jewels in the class, I didn't know which thread to pick up. And the thread that came to me to pick up was exactly that moment of not knowing. I didn't know which thread to pick up. Let me enter that space. There's no need to know. What if we all start with that place right now? After all, if we're going to do what the Course tells us, and most of us who are listening to these episodes or doing any of the Course in Miracles classes that revolve around ACIM gathered teachers, are all people who've done the lessons and know that we are listening to the one voice. And we'll be told where to go, what to do, what to say, and to whom. And we'll be told what the meaning to make out of things. We're not to make our own meaning out of things. We know what happens when we go to the small mind that perceives. That's where the ego comes in. We perceive. Perception. Perception creates rejection. Perception creates attack thoughts. Perception is the ground for the ego to make its way about a world in separation, a world that believes that we are solid bodies separate from each other and separate from God. But not knowing allows an emptiness. Trust actually requires that emptiness. It's not said in the Course in Miracles, but it's my understanding. How can you be led if you're filled? But true knowing has no arrogance. It's not filled with me. True knowing is when we listen to the voice. We don't know why we're doing or saying what we're doing. And we just trust. Trust and willingness and emptiness all go together for me. They're all part of the same experience. So let's do as I suggested and go to emptiness right now. What's that like? Not to have an idea, not to know what to say, not to know what to do. And what do we do when we are in that position? We're empty. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to say or to whom. That's when we need do nothing. We can be quiet. And with each breath, we're filled with life. It seems that life is something we take and we use. We didn't create our own lives. It's something we've received, just like the trees and the flowers. None of us asked to be born except in the existential sense. We didn't make ourselves get born, except if you believe that existentially. But the mechanics had to do with something other than our being, unless we include the one being as us, which is true. There is only one being, and that's us. But then we can't talk about ourselves as separate. There's just the one being. Knowing and not knowing seem to have no relationship, at least in my body, to resistance. Resistance seems to be related to will. And resistance is related to beliefs. So if I even read a truth in A Course in Miracles, but I hold it in my experience as a belief because it's not mine, it's just a concept. I don't know it yet. Then I might resist it. But when you know something, it's like beyond opinion. There's no yay or nay. It just is. It lives in that arena of isness. Lately, I've been thinking and remembering about my daughter Melissa's death because I've been writing about it. I don't have to say passing anymore because now I know, really know, that she didn't go anywhere. Her body is gone. I know that well. I was in the morgue with her when she'd been lifeless long enough that I could mold her cheeks into any form like they were clay. I could make her look more or less like Melissa. The body was no longer. But what did I know? I think I've told you before in episodes that I first was suffering greatly. I was fighting what is. I was fighting her passing. And that's what grief is, in my opinion. It's some kind of a struggle with what is. And you've heard before that I was shaken. And the first couple of times, I was too preoccupied with my own tragedy to pay attention to being shaken. But all of a sudden, I woke up. What did I wake up to? I'm not sure all of it yet. But here are some of the ingredients. I knew Melissa was still gone. There was an emptiness that was different from the emptiness from when I longed for her. When I had a longing, that meant I was in a fight with what was. What was is that she was gone from the playground. This new emptiness that was with a silence. Notice the difference. When I was suffering, there was mental chatter, feeling chatter, being filled with beliefs about sorrow and my tragic new life, victimhood, as the Course would say. But after I was shaken, this place has become my new home. It's an emptiness, but not a sadness or a longing. Nothing is needed, so it's also full. I know something that's not a belief. I know a lot of things from this place-like place, place-like space. I know there are no edges. Come with me there now, into your room. That air, that space is part of universal space. It only appears to have edges of walls, but that space continues outside to be part of the external space that goes on and on, up into the sun, up into the galaxies. There are no edges. We are knowing our experience right now. It's not a belief. It's not an opinion. It's not a concept. There's a space we can enter where I belong, you belong, everyone belongs, including those who've departed already. But it's not personal. I'm not coming there as Rosalind. Melissa's not coming as Melissa. We're sharing the being as essence. It's like extract of Rosalind and extract of Lynn and extract of Dove and extract of Melissa. When something is in the realm of our experience, without an opinion, without a preference, it seems to be able to go into that category, if you will, of knowing. And it's actually feels like the same category as not knowing, because they're both empty, empty of hubris, empty of opinion, empty of better than or not as good as, empty of the world. The Course tells us we have to loose the world from what we thought it was. We can still play in the world, but we can't believe in the world as real. Can we play in it as though it's real? Yes, as long as we know where true reality lies. We have to come from the one voice. Chapter 5 talks about the great willingness for healing. Willingness is kind of an interesting word because it's based on will. And the Course tells us that intention is not enough. Mostly it talks about the little willingness. And I think it means you'll do the Course even though you don't understand it. You'll do the Course even if you don't believe it. You'll do the Course and maybe even choose again, even though you go backwards and forget the lesson and forget doing the next thing. I'm getting so happy in silence. I know this is a video. Are you getting happy in silence too? Can you feel how the silence and the emptiness is so filling? We're at home. We're at home in the one being. Can you feel how all the doing that we've done in our lives has been taking us away from the oneness? Getting more of this, more of that. How short was the solutions that we've used before? Short in their resolve or the resolution to the wanting. You get something, and pretty soon you're looking for something else out in the world. I lose the world from what I thought it was. We already have everything. Luckily, we get to be messengers for the one. How do we do that? Do we need to change ourselves? No. We can go out as teachers of God from this emptiness and be the emissary of fullness, of ripeness, of overflowing love and light. The beauty is that we get to represent God in a form that's new and fresh and different from each other. What a gift is that? Love is the way I walk in gratitude. I know I'm being more quiet today than usual. I hope you're enjoying that quiet with me. I realized that in the stories I've been telling since Melissa died about being shaken, I didn't talk enough about the silence and the emptiness that was so full of a knowing that all is well. Where is all well? Not in the Ukraine, not in Africa, not in the United States, not anywhere in this made up world. There are the haves and the have nots, the ups and the downs. People competing, people arguing. That's the nature of the world. There's also the beauty and the generosity and the love that's everywhere. Let's always remember that we're in charge of our perceptions. The Course describes that so beautifully in the responsibility for sight and in the first 4 lessons. But if we listen to the voice of God, listen to the one voice, open to awareness, open to the one being, then we have something more than opinions. We have a place to rest. We have a home that we share. The homes we have in the world are usually needing some kind of repair, some kind of upkeep. This home that we share, that can be inside of us or outside of us, because it has no boundaries and it's not set in time. It's always there and it never needs repair. It has perfection. It has connection. It has a kind of abiding love, because without opinions, without the preferences and the attachments and the incorrect identifications of what we are, without them, all is well. Can we talk about courage? It takes courage to follow the one voice. It takes courage to say, I am not a solid body. I am so much more than that. I am infinite power. I am infinite boundaries. That means no boundaries. I am outside of time and space. Do I know what that is? Only sometimes and only a little. But it takes courage to make that my home. We think generally of courage as stepping out into a fire to save someone or a doing in the world. I'm here to say that not knowing and also speaking for what we do know, the oneness, our connection, it takes enormous courage. Not when we're following the voice, but when we slip back into that amnesia, that place where we're feeling groggy, like we've forgotten who we are. Why are there all these books on getting to know yourself? Isn't that crazy? We've lived 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years and more as the I. And yet we've been so delusional. And we live in this world, this world of make-believe through myths. We say the sun rose this morning or sunset. We say that even though we know better. The sun is always shining. We kind of like living from this. But I think that soon we're going to reach a tipping point where more people are willing to own and claim the light, the holiness that we are, the light that we are. We're going to shed that mistaken identity. We're no longer going to live hidden in plain sight. We're going to expose the truth of what we are, our glory, and the glory of each other. I love the part of the Course that says we can only get there 2 by 2. We cannot get there as a single, because there is no such thing as a single. So as I embrace you and you embrace me and we embrace what is, we have both the knowing and the not knowing, the empty space that is filled. What's it filled with? Energy. We could call that energy the field of love. Love abides. Thank you for being with me today. Bye-bye.